I think my answer is probably something like decouplers, low decouplers.
Or people you have
Have
a hard
trouble with
time.
that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's very difficult for me to understand what is going on in their minds.
Someone in my chat said, Destiny, have you asked? Wait, how the fuck do you say your name?
Ayla?
Aella. Okay. Have you asked Aella yet why she decided? Wait, is that your real name or is that like an online name?
It's functionally my real name. Well, like only my parents call me by my original name.
Okay, so it's not the name on your driver's license.
It is not.
Okay. Have you asked Aella yet why she decided to stop talking to Mr. Girl? You guys had like a pretty intense conversation, I think. Did you guys have a falling out after that?
Um, yeah. Well,
Also, you
it's
don't
like
have to talk about your relationships with other people if you don't want to. Like, I'm not trying to mine you for fucking quotes or drama or anything, too. So.
thanks for the consideration. Um, no, it's fine. I like I don't like he. I wish him the best and stuff, but like there's a way that sometimes people operate, and when I like recognize this pattern in them, like I have a safety cutoff mechanism where I'm like, it is not going to be good for me or them if we continue to interact. And he just like after our conversation, I was like, yeah, it was like a fine combo or something. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've tweeted at one point because he tweeted a limited section of the email exchange. I was like, you fuck tweet all of it.
Okay.
Anyway, because I was nice. Um, but then he just like responded like sort of interpreting something that I was doing negatively where I didn't mean it negatively.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that there was like probably nothing that I could do that he would not interpret negatively. And then I was like, this is like a black hole of communication. Like there's no possible thing I can do that can communicate. So I decided to stop talking to him.
Gotcha. Um, did what you just said that you have a safety mechanism to cut people off? Is that something you developed because of really bad experiences in the past, or is that something you've like always naturally had?
I think it's mostly because of my dad. Like he's really abusive. You love him so much. He's like your parent, and you like try so hard, and then eventually like, there's like a really painful realization that like there's nothing that you can do that will ever get through to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're like, and I think like people have this sort of deeply set concept that if you only like say the right combination of words, or if you are understanding or giving enough, that like you'll finally be able, like one day they're gonna wake up and like see you. I had that belief, and then like one day I like let go of that belief, and I saw this is where I learned it. I carry it around with me.
Do you? Here's a belief I have that's really controversial, and honestly, I don't know if it's backed by that much
Mm-hmm.
research. This is one of my few like emotional, intuitive positions that might not be true. I feel like by the time you're like 15, 16, like the majority of your like 80% of your personality is pretty in place. And then by the time you're like
Mm-hmm.
20 to 25, like that's basically who you are. You could make major adjustments, but it's a very rare thing to happen. So by the time I've got somebody who's like in their 20s, if they have like certain personality characteristics, I would advise people, and I personally say they're not going to change. You just don't rely on it unless something catastrophic happens in their life to make them change. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's probably why it's so easy to not realize that. It's so easy to get sucked in. Like even if you like believe that consciously, it's so easy to be like, but so close. Like there's like a moment, a flash, which is I think is why I think Mr. Girl triggered this pretty hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because like in the conversation, he was not playing by normal social rules, which I really enjoy. I really enjoy like fucking with social norms.
Mm-hmm.
And there were like a lot of bids for like what seemed like potential connection, and so I really quickly let down my guard.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I was
and
gonna
this
say the
is,
way that you
I'm
like
sure
talk
you've
about like
heard.
kind of like meta conversations and stuff around that seems very much like he would do that too. That's one reason why I like talking to him too. Is because like it's just so much fun to yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like stepping out of the pool with somebody and it's like, holy shit, like let's actually like take a look at what's going on here. And you can have another person, a conversation with
Yeah.
a person that can like look at stuff in a very pulled back. It's almost like social ego death, right? Like when you've had enough of a psychedelic and you start to dissolve away these like fundamental connecting parts of your consciousness, it's really interesting to see like what the fuck is left. Like, and what are you looking at that point? And yeah, when you meet somebody like Max, somebody like that, where you can step back and it's like, let's have a conversation about like, why is it wrong to fuck 6-year-olds? And like, would it be if like they were really like, you could just have like the wildest fucking conversations with like no judgment and just like very like candid, very frank, very like brute force, like algorithmic analysis of like
Yeah.
interactions without all of the like, well, if I don't say this thing, like you might think I'm creepy or weird or whatever. Yeah, it's a super fun to be able to find somebody that can engage in that manner. But most of those people are fucking insane. So yeah, it is what it is. Yeah.
Have you tried circling?
That sounds like a
Do you know what circling is?
no. It sounded like sounding, but no. What is circling?
You you might fucking love it.
Okay.
It's like a practice for that specifically, and it's kind of like hippie-ish. But I appreciate it because they don't pull punches. But good circling is like people sit around in a group and then they talk meta about what's happening right now in like a quite honest way.
Hmm.
And I found it to be extremely useful. But the thing that you described, it sounded like you were describing circling.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Yeah. But yeah, Mr. Girl does that very well, which was very enjoyable.
What happened in the email exchange?
I could pull it up. I don't really remember.
You just give me like a.
I don't want to sound like I'm misrepresenting it just because of my bad memory. So
Uh
take it with a grain of salt. But I think it was something like, uh, I said, I think he asked, "How did it go for you?" And I was like, "Oh, it was like, it was like fine." I think I said like something kind of neutral and polite, like, "How was it for you?" And then he said something that felt a little accusatory to me.
huh. Okay.
Um, about like me like like I was eating during the thing and he interpreted this as me disrespecting him or something, and so he just said something more about how like some like analyzation of how my incentives are actually because of some like twisted thing about myself.
Oh fuck, he
And I
did
was like,
the
okay.
the one thing that I kept trying to like fucking break him out of was he's a really bad mind reader, and he thinks he's way better at it than he actually is, and all of his conversations usually get stuck on him like telling a person how they feel about something and being unwilling to budge regardless. Oh, like not updating, I guess. Regardless of what happens, like usually most of his conversations will die at that point where he's basically divined another person's intentions or thoughts, and he's unwilling to like move off of that ever. And then like yeah, usually there's like breakdowns from that point, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so I think that's like a good analysis. Sounded like that was what was happening.
interesting. Okay.
And I just have difficulty with that. I'm like, I really want somebody to actually be curious about what's going on for me and then like kind of change their mind if I'm like, oh, I'm not sure that's right. I don't mean you have to like take me at face value, but there's something like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm like like I respect me a little more. Like I'm not like an idiot when it comes to introspection.
Yeah.
Like maybe the first theory is not always the right one.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this is why he made me cry, as I'm sure you heard, because people like to talk about that.
Yeah.
It's because like I think there was like a moment in the conversation where I just felt like a deep realization that there was like no possible way that I was going to feel a connection with him, and that just felt so sad to me. I felt like suddenly like a sense of profoundness with him.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I need to go soon. You want to do one more question?
Yeah, go for it. All right. Bye. Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.